So when you are under throttle, that transmission, the 6-speed automatic, shifts very quickly. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're gonna be going over a 2020 Lexus GS 350 in the F Sport package. And as always, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry H. Miller Lexus here in Murray, Utah for providing us with the GS 350. Check out their inventory in the link below. Let's just get right into it. Under the hood of the GS 350, we have a naturally aspirated 3.5 liter V6 that goes through a 6-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 19 around town and 26 on the highway, with power outputs being 311 horsepower and then 280 pound-feet of torque, and a 0 to 60 time of about 5.8 seconds. Now let's go over the front end on the GS 350. I really like the lines there on the hood. Definitely gives the front end kind of like this nice muscular appearance. And then coming down just here, you've got full LED lights with the LED accent lights. If you're wondering why they are flickering on the camera, it's just because of the frame rate of the camera. You've got those little markers at the front. Those are parking sensors. You got the logo there in the center, which also doubles as a sensor. I actually really like the grille on the GS 350. I think it's like the perfect size. And then you've got that little inlet right there, mostly for style purposes. And then other than that, the front end, again, it just has like that signature Lexus look to it. Coming around the side here, we've got two 35mm tires wrapped around 19-inch rims. Got the little F Sport badge right there, and then the tire and rim setup in the back is identical to what is in the front here. In terms of the design on the rims themselves, they do kind of like a dark gray that matches the exterior paint, which is a really nice touch, and then kind of like chrome inserts on top of that. But taking a step back, here is our full view on the GS 350. Here's our key fob for the GS 350. You have a couple functions. You've got your lock at the top, you've got the unlock in the middle, and then the release for the trunk. Now there is remote start. You do have to press the lock button a couple of times, and then you have to hold it down, and hopefully you did it in the right order. And you notice the lights will blink again, and it's gonna pop right on. You hear that 3.5 liter V6 come to life after you do that. And then if you do wonder how to turn it off, you just have to hold down that lock button again, and then it'll shut off. I do have that trunk release, so we just have to hold that and it will pop right open. Now it goes open all the way. It's kind of slow, but at least it pops open all the way. In terms of the trunk space in the GS, it is absolutely massive back here. You've got tons of cargo space. Notice that the floor mats do say Lexus GS, so they are model specific. And then there's this little strap right here. Oh, if I can get it with my finger, pick that up. There is a full spare tire underneath, and other than that, storage space is good, and that's all for the back. Okay, just kidding. There's a button to lower it back down. Just press that, and then it'll lower the trunk back down. It's a pretty nice little luxury feature. Now let's touch on everything in the rear. So you've got all your regular badging, F Sport badge, all-wheel drive GS 350. Now the taillights themselves, I actually really like the taillight assembly. It kind of has this cool like 3D look with the different lines on the lights. Dual outlet exhaust, and then notice that you do get a diffuser there at the bottom with parking sensors all the way across. But yeah, that is everything for the rear. Oh, and get a tiny little spoiler. Now coming to the back, we do have keyless entry, and then actually opening up the door, we've got this really nice trim at the top right there, full leather right here, nice stitching as well, and then you do get some piano black trim in that little area. Now here are the seats in the back of the GS 350. They've got nice perforations through them. In terms of the feel, the leather's very soft to the touch again, and well, we're gonna pop in quickly. So you have to duck a little bit since it's a sedan. Now I've got the seat roughly where I'd sit. I'm 5'11", so there's a good amount of leg room. In terms of headroom, that's also pretty good here in the back of the GS. Now there is a couple of vents right here, and then you do get a 12-volt down at the bottom. Now there is this little kind of like cup holder center console thing happening, so you can open up this. Got some extra storage space in there, and also in there, and I don't know why I said cup holders, because I'm not seeing any cup holders, so my bad. Coming up to the front and unlocking it, notice that the mirrors do power fold in and out, whether you lock it or unlock it. Now the door panel here at the front, you got that same trim, same leather with all the stitching, memory seats here on the side of the door panel, all of your window controls just down below that. Now here are the seats at the front, again, really nice leather. They've got nice bolsters here on the side and down at the bottom. All of your power adjustments are right here at the very bottom. You've got the pedal layout just down there, and I really like the look on the pedals. They have done a really good job in terms of just how they look. Here's your heated steering wheel control. You got your stability control. That is for the lights, and then the steering wheel is actually automatically adjustable. There's your paddles on the back, and there's one more look before we hop in. Starting up the GS 350, just a push button, pretty normal. Notice that everything will come to life there, and I'll kind of give you guys like a full view so you can get both little animation sets that are happening. Here's our steering wheel in the GS 350. You've got smoother leather at the top and at the bottom, and then it's kind of like perforated on the sides. We're going to grab it. You've got this nice white contrasted stitching all throughout. And then in terms of the rest of the steering wheel, over on this side, you've got your controls for the pages button, your lane departure assistance, collision assistance, cruise controls hiding just back there. And then over on the other side, you got your voice command button, phone controls, volume control, all that kind of stuff. Paddle shifters on the back of the steering wheel. That's the stock for the lights. That's the stock for the windshield wipers. Here is the center gauge cluster, and you've got the RPMs front and center, which is pretty neat. Over on the other side, you've got that little information tab, which again just gives you different bits of information on the GS 350 itself. Nothing too crazy on that. It's pretty simple to use, and yeah, that's everything for the center stack. So here is the center infotainment system on the Lexus GS. Now it is controlled via a little control pad. I'll show that to you guys in just a moment, but we're gonna pop into reverse so you guys can see what the backup camera looks like. Pretty normal backup camera, nothing too crazy. The trajectory lines do turn with the steering wheel. Now with the rest of the infotainment system itself, again, you've got a couple different buttons that you can use and a little control pad to go through. It does take a moment to get used to it. I do like Lexus's little like finger pad more than this control pad thing, but it does get the job done. Now down below the infotainment system, we've got the controls for the climate system, and it is a dual zone climate in the GS 350, and you got your little CD player and the Lexus clock at the very top. Down below that, you've got your controls for your heated and ventilated seats. Got the ventilated seat on today because it's pretty toasty outside. And then if you press this up, it reveals a couple of cup holders at the front. I like the trim at the top of it. Definitely a nice little touch. Now in this area, this is where our shifter is. Again, this is the shifter for the 6-speed automatic. You do have your manual shift mode if you do want to shift the gears yourself with that. And then this is that little control pad that I was telling you about that you control the infotainment system. It's kind of okay to use with the finger. I noticed that this kind of feels a little bit better, but I could see using it with just one finger. It just sometimes isn't the easiest to move around, so you almost want to like jostle it with 2 fingers to kind of move it around. This is kind of like a little rest for your wrist. And then this is the drive mode select, which is going to pop up on the screen right here. So popping up in the middle right there, you've got the eco mode, and it'll say eco mode, and then you can press in for normal, and then you can put it over into the sport, and then you've got the sport plus, which it doesn't really change the look of it when you go between the sport and the sport plus. It just changes what it says right there. Before we pop in the center console, there is a snow mode as well. And then here's the center console, very nice soft touch leather. We're gonna rest your arm. It does go back for you to be able to open it, and then you'll notice that this reveals a couple buttons. You've got your parking sensor here, and then this is the shade in the rear. Yes, this does come with a rear shade. And then opening up the center console itself, decent amount of storage space. You got a couple of USBs and a 12-volt all lined with felts, and that's all for the center console. Popping over the glove box, you just have to press that little button. That'll unlock it, and again, lined with felt. Good amount of storage space, as you can see. Up top here, we've got our little sunroof, and well, that is blindingly bright, but you got your controls for the sunroof, and then the light controls, you just press the little buttons, and it is LED lights at the top. You got the headliner, which is kind of like softer to the touch, and then you do a black headliner, which matches the rest of the interior. Now that we're done going over the interior on this GS 350, let's get into pricing. So this GS 350 with the F Sport package and all the options it has, stickers for $60,000 before any type of market adjustment. Remember, this has the 3.5 liter V6, all-wheel drive, all that kind of stuff, and yeah, let's take her out and see how she drives. Let's talk about visibility in the GS 350 before we set off. So visibility over the hood's good, and I forgot to mention this leather at the top, which is really hot because it's in the sun right now. Hot. But yeah, visibility is good. You've got visibility through both of the mirrors. And then here's what the visibility looks like all throughout the rear, and I totally forgot to put the sunshade down, so sorry about that, guys. But there's your visibility with the sunshade up, and that all being said, let's set off. I'm setting off here in the 2020 Lexus GS 350 F Sport. And you guys remember I reviewed the GS F earlier well, actually it was like just a week ago. Well, probably like 2 weeks ago. That car was a ton of fun with the big V8 that it had. But this is kind of like the more practical version, right? It has all-wheel drive instead of rear-wheel drive, and it has a V6. It gets a little bit better fuel economy. So again, from a practicality standpoint, it's gonna be a little bit better. And taking our first turn here, steering's really light and effortless. I mean, it feels like most other Lexuses. And by the way, I'm in the eco mode right now. In terms of the noise that comes through into the cabin, it's pretty well insulated in general from a noise perspective. And then in terms of in terms of like the actual ride quality over the road, it's pretty smooth. Again, it's just on par with most other Lexuses. And I've heard a lot of people say that the GS in general just needs to be updated. I feel like some of the technology, right, could be a little bit better, like what is in the new Lexus RX, for example. But other than the technology, I think everything else on this is actually pretty solid. We're going to be getting our acceleration here. So when you are under throttle, that transmission, the 6-speed automatic, shifts very quickly with the paddles. When you're not on throttle, it does take a moment. Like when you downshift, for example, it does take a moment to respond. But once you do put a little bit of throttle input, the shifts just get so much quicker. And by the way, I'm in the Sport Plus mode right now. We're gonna put it back over into the Eco mode. And from like a power standpoint, it's pretty good. The all-wheel drive is great as well. Obviously helps it hook up and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would say like just overall from like a power perspective, it's adequate. But Lexus, if you're watching this, you know, it'd be really cool. All-wheel drive, 8-speed automatic transmission, GSF. I'm just throwing that out there, okay? Just throwing that out there. Let's get into summing things up here with the GS F Sport. I almost said GSF, but GS 350 F Sport, and where I think this really stands. So if you want a all-wheel drive Lexus, right, this is gonna be the route to go in terms of the GS lineup. Now, compared to other Lexuses, like the IS 350, and then you've got the RC 350 as well, that also can be all-wheel drive, have the same powertrain. I'm just gonna put this out here. I kind of think it's a little bit of a toss-up. Now, obviously the RC looks the best, but again, that's a two-door, so completely different car. The IS 350, now that one's a little bit different, right? That car's a little bit smaller than this. And the other thing that is gonna be different about that car is just how it drives because of how small it is. But if I had to choose, I would kind of lean a little bit towards the IS. I feel like it's just a little bit of a better value. I think this car is still cool, but I can understand why Lexus dealerships will sell a little bit more volume with the IS and the RCs, just because you get a little bit better bang for your buck. Still a cool car, and especially a really cool car in the GSF package. But this GS 350, still awesome. That is gonna sum things up for our video on the 2020 GS 350 and the F Sport package. Again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Schmiller Lexus here in Murray for providing us with the GS 350. Check out them and turn the link below. I'll see all of you in the next video.